I'm here in Riyadh in conversation with Patrice Couvegnes, Group Chief Executive Officer and Board Member of Banque Saudi Fransi. If I could begin with this as a first question, what is it that you would identify as the key challenges and opportunities that face the bank now and are going to face the bank in the future?
The challenge today for BSF is to continue the implementation of the restructuring and the transformation we did during the last 5 years in order to completely change the bank. So the challenge today is to cope with the new challenge, with the new economy in the kingdom, the new opportunities of our corporate client, new opportunities of our retail client, new opportunities of our wealth management client. And today, facing this big change in the country, given our position today, according to our position today in the market, we have many opportunities to manage the situation and to cope with the big challenge that the banking industry is facing today. I would like just to remind you something very important. Today, the bank is doing well. It's not by chance. It's because we prepare the big change of the country. We are expecting a big change in the country. And we totally restructure, transform the bank with a new business model, new international practices, in order to cross the difficulties, because we were expecting a big change in the economic environment, not the oil price going down at $40 the barrel, but a big change because personally, I strongly believe in the theory of the cycle, economic theory of the cycle. And when I came here in the kingdom in 2011, the situation was doing very well, but I was expecting some transformation. And that's the reason why we prepare the bank for the future, and not only to get a good result for 1 year and a good performance, but prepare a new BSF, because the banking is an industry. An industry is a medium long term, it's not a short term. When you look at short term in this business, you are wrong. So that's why we prepare the bank, and today, the performance, we can come later on that, of the BSF, is the result, in fact, of what we did on the heavy transformation of BSF. And I think today we are more prepared than some competition to cope with a more difficult environment.
So would you describe that transformation as the biggest challenge you faced since your appointment in 2011?
We want to be the best quality. The culture, our culture is the bank of clients. We are a long-term relationship. And what we want to do is to serve the client, be more a service provider, quality of the service. When there is a loan, the client doesn't wait for 6 months to get his loan. When he needs to issue bonds, to have the bonds quickly. So to react quickly, to act and react quickly with the client to bring the better service. In order to do that, for our top 100 clients, we have about something like 10 senior bankers, people who are high quality relationship manager, who are in charge of the biggest client of the bank in order to serve them in the best way. If I may, I will say something important. Before being the group CEO of BSF, I spent 15 years in Asia. Korea, in Singapore, Korea, Japan, and Hong Kong was the head of Asia. And I experienced a lot of difficulties, crisis and so on, crisis in 1997, crisis in 2000, 2008. And you know, the banking business is experience. So what I brought here is my experience of the business. And in fact, I was expecting, if I compare with the countries where I was before, a big change in Saudi Arabia. That's the reason why we went through this big transformation of BSF, because we could stay as such, but we could today face big difficulties if we would not have totally changed the bank. So it was crazy at that time. It was difficult, it was painful, but you know it was necessary to prepare the bank for the future. It is what's happened today. We are not Superman, we are just professional, and we try to do as far as we can do as a professional to position this business on the clean way, not rush, not look for quick profit, but think about long term. Because again, I repeat, the banking is industry and service, and perhaps Robin, we could come later on concerning the Bank of Excellence and so on. So we have we have two faces. Industry, because you need a lot of equity to do this business, so it's like industry. Secondly, because the strategy, so the medium term, we cannot change and perform for one year. And thirdly, is the quality of the service.
So how's the roller coaster ride of the oil price affected the bank?
That was not expected. It was expected a change on the economic situation, a change of a turnaround, but not a so quick change in the economy in Saudi Arabia. Why? Because in fact, the economy of Saudi Arabia before the oil crisis, the oil crisis, the drop, was flooded by the liquidity and the wealth and the resources provided by the oil at 80, 100 US dollars a barrel. And there was a lot of projects. So it was finally, the business was going well because all our clients was benefiting of a big contract, mostly construction, infrastructure, and so on. And of course, the situation was going pretty well. Suddenly, the source of
the tap got
turned
turned off.
Yes, the tap closed. So suddenly, the business changed, and our good client, big client, suddenly did not have any more project and contract. Fortunately, we were prepared for this change, and BSF is a middle-sized bank. So it means we can maneuver quite quickly, and we do not have so much fat and resistance to quickly change the direction of the boat.
How important do you think Vision 2030 is going to be to the development of the Saudi economy?
The purpose of this project is to, of course, to transform the economy. To transform the economy from an oil economy to a non-oil economy, and to, of course, boost the role of the private sector. To be honest, in the past, the private sector was not really so much supported. I think it's a family business and so on. And now we discover that we need to have a more dynamic private sector. So it is an opportunity for us, of course, and we will play on that. Of course, the purpose is to rebalance the source of revenues and to be less dependent from the oil resources. It is a big project because it's a transformation. Transformation is not on the paper. Transformation is people. The organization of the country, the people, the habit, the culture. So it's a big challenge, but there is no choice. There is no choice. So there is one choice: is to transform, is to change. It is the challenge. I think it's totally it could work. Perhaps could be better to have done this kind of change before the crisis, because today it's a little bit more, the maneuver is more difficult. But there is no choice, and Saudi Arabia being a G20 country, is a big country, cannot only depend on oil resources, because you don't know what will be the future, and the oil is not forever. So this challenge, this Vision 2030, is the change of business model of the country. We change the country, is changing our business model. And this painful, and I think it will be more difficult. People should understand that the change is very pain. It's very pain. I will not mention what Churchill used to say, pain, tears, and blood. But the change is very difficult. No, change is very, very difficult. It's very easy to talk about change and to have a long seminar and meeting about how to manage a change. The problem is, how could you manage a change with your team and your people, and to make sure the people change, and the people, because it's not only one person, it's not because we say we want to change, it's everybody has to change. And it is, for me, a very, very big challenge, but there is no choice. My opinion.
What opportunities is that going to bring for the bank, though, if this transformation begins?
There is a lot of opportunities. In the world, you know, as the Chinese used to say, crisis means opportunities. If you consider, you have two options. You say, okay, the problem is difficult, what do we do? What do we do? It's not an option. You have to clearly accommodate and think about the new opportunity you have, and of course, accommodate your business to this opportunity. We talk about the private sector. Private sector is an opportunity. Talk about but we don't talk about the financing of the economy done before by the government. Today, it will be done more by the private sector, by the bank, by the financing from the project, self-liquidating project, and so on, like project financing and so on. So it's a change, and it's an opportunity for the bank to be there and to leverage on this change. The banks are, in economy, is very important as actor. The banks are actors. They are part of the game. So they have to accommodate to the game. The game is changing. We have to accommodate and to be ready to come to our client with new solution, new financing, new service.
Some of the new things that are coming.
Excuse me, Robin, just one thing. Let's talk about retail banking, for instance. The retail banking in the country will change a lot, and we just an but look at the saving products. There is no saving products today in Saudi Arabia because the culture is to spend money. Ramadan time we go mall and so on. Stupid example, but there is no culture of saving. Today, it's a need to change, to save for the education of the children, for the future, for retirement, whatever, the pension and so on. So we are working on that at BSF to prepare saving products and so on with our retail banking. It is an opportunity. Before, the retail banking was mostly providing consumer loan, home loan, and so on. Now we have to think about products which will fit with the future, and of course to take into account of the population. The population of Saudi Arabia, is very young. 50% of the population is below 30 years old. So we have to accommodate our business also for the retail banking for this new generation. So you see, as far as corporate is concerned, as far as the retail is concerned, we have opportunities. It will be more difficult than in the past. More difficult for sure. But I think if we are well organized, we can be successful.
Just how competitive is the banking marketplace in Saudi Arabia?
It's a very competitive market. I'm talking about the corporate. Yeah. It's a very competitive market. We benefit of, and it is, of course, because of the past, on the culture, of the DNA of BSF, we benefit of the fact that we are more a corporate bank than the retail bank. So we have a strong position in our client, but we are challenged every day because most of the banks in Saudi Arabia start being a retail bank. Then they want to do more in the corporate banking.
How will the issuances that are going to come in terms of new bonds and privatizations going to affect the financial environment? Because would these be vehicles for the savings products you mentioned?
There is a need today in Saudi Arabia to have a debt capital market, which is not the case today. When you talk about Sukuk, for instance, Sukuk, we distribute the Sukuk to, let's say, 20, 25 investors. That's it. You talk about the deposit. There is still mountains of deposit in the private account. So what's important is to make sure that the Sukuk could be distributed through the retail network, which is not the case today. The Sukuk, when you are capital, Saudi Fransi capital, we issue Sukuk, we distribute the Sukuk to major investors like Gozi, PIF, I don't know, PPA, whatever, which are the big investors, sovereign funds, but it's a limited case. So, and there's a need now to, of course, offer to the population, to the citizen, to the country, access to the bonds, like is the case in Europe and so on. Because why this deposit in the branch, in the account, useless? So that's important, is to plug this retail deposit from the retail to the financing of the economy. And today it is one of the challenges of the country also, and it is within, I think, should be within the Vision 2030, to make sure that the capital market, the financing activities, is also reorganized. My opinion, I'm not, is we need in Saudi Arabia a big bang. A big bang means a new organization of the Tadawul, debt market, equity market, debt market, and so on. It is very important to change the way the economy is financing, because we are talking about long-term projects. So Sukuk is totally, of course, qualified for financing the long-term project, it's bonds, but you have to find the investors, and the investors are not only the big sovereign funds and so on. So that's a question which is important, because, and I strongly believe and support and hope that we will review the capital market to make sure that the bank, for instance, can sell their assets to the individuals, like in the US. In the US, the banks do not keep in their balance sheet their loan. They package and they sell. The principle of the securitization and so on. We need to have a securitization in the country and so on. So there's a lot of work to facilitate or to change the way the bank will in the future provide finance.
I was recently told by one banker that there is what he would only describe as a tidal wave of regulation coming at the banks. What are your views on that?
But it's not new. It's not new. It's not something new. It's not something new. When I came here, sorry, but when I came here in 2011, I was surprised when I discovered the way the banking industry in Saudi Arabia was working. Balance sheet was not an issue. Well, no problem. Loan, spread, very thin spread. The issue was to make money, to make revenues. It doesn't work like that. I was expecting, of course, and that was the purpose of the restructuration, and Sameh knows that. And that's why I bombard the people in the bank about that. It was the question, I was expecting a big change in Saudi Arabia concerning the regulation, and mostly the Basel III, sorry for this jargon in French, Basel III regulation, which is tightening the equity, made the equity more expensive. And you cannot ask to a shareholder to every year to put more equity if you want to develop the business. So my concern was, of course, to review the organization of the bank given the change of the regulation. I was expecting a big change. It is what happened. It is what happened. Because now where you can see, and it was the purpose of the business model we put in place, the cross-selling, to reduce, as far as we can do, the consumption on balance sheet and to develop the off-balance sheet business, which is capital market, which is GMG, global market, group, trade finance, and so on, in order to reduce the pressure on the balance sheet. So I'm not Einstein, but I was expecting that because why? Because I experienced that in the past in other countries. So I was expecting a tight regulation. And being G20 members and part of the Basel, of course, committee, Saudi Arabia is implementing the rules. So it is not a surprise because it's a surprise that they are now in the loop with the other developed countries, but it's not a surprise because the rules, the regulation is for everybody, and Saudi Arabia want to implement as and perhaps more than some countries because when you look at the capital adequacy ratio, is more tough, and the regulation here is more tough than the other countries concerning the capital, concerning the loan to deposit, the liquidity, concerning the provision, and so on. So it's not, to be honest, I'm not, but I was not surprised. I was expecting that, and it was the purpose of this restructuration of the bank to prepare the bank for the future. And the business model based on the cross-selling means for one client, we need to develop many products, many products, and not only the lending business. Lending business should be a part of the business, but not below 50% of the business.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Robin.